you got to fight for that job every day. Like if not, there's somebody else, trust me, that wants that job. And especially after that mission, anybody would have taken my place in a heartbeat. No doubt about it. Nobody had to participate. We thought we were going to not make it back. We made sure our life insurance policies were filled out because we thought something would happen. One of the helicopters is going to get shot down. The house is going to blow up. I mean, we're going into Pakistan. It's like something bad is going to happen. It always does. And one of the helicopters did go down, but just luckily everybody was a little bit prepared, so they pulled through. And on this one, I definitely couldn't say anything. I would just say I'm going on a trip, and I didn't tell my mom anything because I didn't want her to worry, and I didn't want her to worry my grandparents. And with my dad, I let him know that I might not be coming back on this one. Because I really didn't think we were going to make it home. I really thought we were dead. I just accepted it, I guess. Like, this is totally worth it, 100%. Let's go do this. Even if we get shot down on the way home, and the fact that we're probably going to get shot down after we kill this turd that seems pretty... I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I just accepted it. It was totally worth it. As long as we kill him, we're good. Just get it done, and after that, it's in God's hands. We went through a few contingencies, and the one, like Murphy's Law, definitely kicked in. The one thing that we didn't plan for happened. But luckily, just say it again, just everybody's such a badass. From the intel people to the helicopter pilots, like, the one thing we didn't plan for, who gives a shit? Those guys are so awesome that, like, it's just working with the best in the world. Like, going from a near-death experience to killing the bot in a heartbeat.
You're listening to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, brought to you by the Assist the Officer Foundation. Since 1999, the ATO has given assistance to the first responder community, and now we want to give a platform to hear their incredible stories. We also want to hear the stories of the many people that support us. Our community is small, but it is strong. We have differences. We don't always agree. And we all make mistakes. But together we can grow, we can heal, and we can learn from those mistakes. And together we can bridge the divide.
All right, welcome back, ATO listeners. This is the continuation of the legend Navy SEAL Will Chesney. This is the part 2 episode where we dig into some of the details on Operation Neptune Spear, the hunt and capture and killing of Osama bin Laden.
Will, welcome back on for your part 2 Electric Boogaloo. I know there's going to be some friends cringing over me saying that because that's my go-to joke. Especially my sound guy, Danny Canetti. He hates it. So, hi, Danny. Getting into Operation Neptune Spear. Part 1, I did not want to rush you. And because this story is about the greatest manhunt in U.S. history. One of the most wanted people in our history. And there's all kinds of stories about it. And this is coming from somebody that actually had boots on the ground and the preparation leading up to it. You've been on several missions in your career. I listened to your participation about this in your book, No Ordinary Dog, about you and Cairo. Whenever your team first found out this is the mission you were going on, how did that go and what went through your head?
It was... No, we were busy. I was busy all throughout my career. I mean, the preparation never stopped. I was very fortunate. I worked hard to get where I was, but when I was there, the work was nonstop. And I was young. I was in my late 20s, and that was my entire life. I was all in. I had nothing else going on. That's all I wanted to do. I mean, this was my family. I had one of the best jobs in the whole world. I show up to work every day with the people that I love and get to do cool stuff. Like, what are we doing today? Skydiving, shooting, blowing stuff up, and going overseas and getting rid of bad people. I'm like, cool. I didn't have anything else. I had my family back home in Texas and maybe a girlfriend, but that was my life. So everything was pretty much the same. I mean, when we got the news, it was just like, oh wow, this is cool. Like you didn't never expect it. You just kind of keep doing your job. You're there doing great work anyways. So I was happy with where I was. I was happy with the people that was around, but it was definitely a surprise to hear that, and then things got a little bit more real. I mean, but it was all the same stuff. I was there with the same people that I've been working with, doing the same exact thing. Just who we were going after happened to be a little bit different.
Well, it had to feel different. I mean, but you guys are trained so well, and you've been on so many other missions. And I remember in your book, one thing that stood out is you saying that it was another mission. The target was just different. And you said the mission went relatively smooth.
I mean, yeah, the guys I was working with, I just can't give them enough credit. The helicopter crashed on the way in, and those guys not only just our guys, but the helicopter pilots and the intel people, they're all just crushed it. They're going from a helicopter crash where you almost die. Not only the pilot just saved your ass, the guys on the bird use it to their advantage. Like, who cares? We just died. Now this just worked out in our favor. It's just crazy to be around such a caliber of people. It was just, I mean, you had to earn your job every day when you were there, because if not, you just won't be there long. It was an honor to be able to serve with such great people.
How quickly did you know your involvement and Will and Cairo's involvement in that mission?
Immediately. I mean, the only reason I was there was because I was a dog guy. Not to downgrade myself, but compared to some of the guys on that team, I'm nobody. You're around the best people in the world. Not to beat a dead horse, it just is what it is. I'm just trying to be full disclosure. The only reason I was chosen for that mission was because of Cairo. I was easily replaceable. Some of the dogs aren't. You got to fight for that job every day. Like, if not, there's somebody else, trust me, that wants that job. And especially after that mission, anybody would have taken my place in a heartbeat. No doubt about it. Nobody had to participate. We thought we were going to not make it back. We made sure our life insurance policies were filled out because we really didn't think. We thought something would happen. One of the helicopters is going to get shot down. The house is going to blow up. I mean, we're going into Pakistan. It's like something bad is going to happen. It always does. And one of the helicopters did go down, but just luckily everybody was a little bit prepared, so they pulled through and saved it.
So I'm just trying to put myself there kind of mentally. It almost seems like 9/11. Like I think everybody in this room knows exactly where they were, what they were doing when 9/11 happened. I could only imagine, but I do kind of try to understand how many ops, like in SWAT, it's another BP, another call out. But do you remember where you were, what were you were doing when you got the phone? I'm assuming it was a phone call that said, "Hey, we're going after bin Laden."
We didn't come over the phone. We were always getting spun up on things. I didn't really get my hopes up.
Okay.
We were really busy.
Makes sense.
So you're always on call. Not always. There's certain times, but we were all. It happened quite a bit. I was very fortunate in my career. I'm not just saying that. We were always spinning up on something. Something's always happening. And on this one, it was just another, "Hey, something's happening." And I'm like, "Cool. I'm 28. I got nothing else going on, bro. What are we doing?" Like, I don't even care if it doesn't work out, because usually it doesn't. Let's just go and have fun. I'm going to be hanging out with you guys anyways. Like, we're going to be doing the same training. It's just like, if this thing happens to work out, like, I don't care what it is. Like, even if we go die, like, cool. I'm like, I'm around the people that I care about.
The difference in this one was on some of the previous ops. I don't guess you checked and make sure your life. There was a high expectation that
which I should have
probably.
Sure. But this one just a
high expectation that you may not come back home on this one
for sure.
And
but I mean, I should
kind of wild,
Yeah,
it's pretty wild for some of the listeners and us to try to comprehend that.
But I definitely should have made sure my life insurance. I mean, I've been in a couple of HBIEDs where the whole house was. I mean, maybe I was in one, and one we just had luckily great leadership that didn't allow us to go in because they were smart enough to blow up the building before we had to make entry. And the one previous to that, the dog saved our ass and told us that the whole house was rigged to blow. So you're always in a shitty circumstance where something's going to happen and helicopters get shot down. Unfortunately, we've definitely learned that lesson. But on this one, it was definitely a little different. I remember being in the room when they told us who we were going after, and I'll never forget that moment for sure. So I get exactly what you're saying, but just don't let it go to your head. I mean, even on the helicopter ride there, I was trying to go to sleep just like every other mission. I'm just trying to, like, guys have their routines, they're reading or I was listening to music and just if I got tired, just go to sleep. Don't overthink things, because
Do you know what song was playing?
on the way in, on the
way in and on the way out.
On the way in, it was Money Talks by AC/DC.
I love
Yeah. And on the way out, it's a great day to be alive by Travis Tritt. And that was so me and Falco, I would always listen to that song on the way home after the missions, and I couldn't listen to it forever after he died. And it was it'd been a while, and that was pretty fitting. On the way home, that song came on again, and I was like, okay, that was the first time I'd listened to it in a long time. So yeah, that was like me and Falco's little song we just listened to. Yeah,
it sounded like the perfect time.
Yeah. So did you get your affairs? Did you get your affairs lined up prior to finding out you were getting ready to hit UBL? Or
oh yeah, I definitely did.
So
couldn't tell my family. I mean, it was just my mom and my dad. My grandparents were around too, but I don't think they had passed yet. I just kind of kept I never told anybody anything really. I would just kind of let them know I was going on a trip when I deployed. And on this one, I definitely couldn't say anything. I would just say I'm going on a trip, and I didn't tell my mom any things. I didn't want her to worry, and I didn't want her to worry my grandparents. And with my dad, I just I let him know that I might not be coming back on this one. But
was this prior to knowing what you were getting ready to go do?
No.
Okay,
this was after I
post.
found out. Yeah, this was after I found out. Other than that, I just never said anything. Sometimes I wouldn't even tell them I was going on deployment, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just don't. The job was dangerous enough. I just left them out of the loop on a lot of things, because why worry them when it's going to happen? If it's going to happen, it is what it is. No need to stress them out.
Yeah.
What made you want to tell them about this one that stood out? I mean, the target.
Because I really didn't think we were going to make it home.
Really?
Oh yeah, I really thought we were dead. I mean, I just accepted it, I guess. Like, this is totally worth it, 100%. Let's go do this.
Right.
Even if we get shot down on the way home, like I figured the house would be rigged to blow. So we'd already been in a couple of HBIEDs, so it's not that uncommon. Suicide vests were all the time, so that's definitely going to fucking happen. And the fact that we're probably going to get shot down after we kill this turd that seems pretty. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but
seem likely.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty solid assumption. So I just accepted it. It was totally worth it. As long as we kill him, like, we're good. Let's get it done. And we did. And after that, it's in God's hands. So it is what it is. Let's just get it done.
Up to this, extortion was post this, correct? It was August of the same year.
Yeah, I used to always think my mindset has switched, but I always wish I just died after the bin Laden mission, because, yeah.
Well, I guess not to bring that, I was just trying to remember the timeline on that, because that would be an anticipative thought. You up to that point, you guys, that's the most you've lost in one given incident. You talked about getting shot down, so that's just something I was just curious.
Yeah, it goes from the
timeline.
Highest point in my career to killing bin Laden to the lowest point in my life. And not only did we have extortion happen where we lost really good guys, I lost my best friend Nick Check too. So it was the point of the most important thing I've ever done in my life to my hair's falling out from stress and I'm dying.
For Operation Neptune Spear, how long did the planning take for that, as far as the training and the rehearsals and the scenarios?
It's hard for me to remember off the top of my head, and I got some memory issues, but we were training for a good month or two. It's probably in some book somewhere. I think it might be in my book or Rob's book or somebody's book, but we were training for a good amount of time.
And y'all tried to train for every scenario you could think of.
We went through a few contingencies.
Yeah.
And the one, like Murphy's Law, definitely kicked in. The one thing that we didn't plan for happened. But luckily, just, I say it again, just everybody's such a badass. From the intel people to the helicopter pilots, like, the one thing we didn't plan for, who gives a shit? Those guys are so awesome that they used it to their advantage. And the helicopter pilot is like, dude, I'll fly that helicopter out of here. Like, yes, we believe you, but, like, it's just working with the best in the world. Like, going from a near-death experience to killing bin Laden in a heartbeat, like, just, yeah.
Are you able to elaborate on how they used the downed helicopter to their advantage? Because I just can't figure that out.
It crashed in the courtyard, and they were supposed to breach a door that had been bricked off. So the door that they breached, they were not allowed entry in because there's bricks. And then when they were going to make their second breach point, since the helicopter crashed in the courtyard, the guys that had crashed just didn't skip a beat. They waited for the rotors to die down or whatever, jumped off, opened the gate up, like, hey, we're good. You don't need to breach. We're in.
Wow.
Did you see the helicopter? You didn't see
We
it?
saw it when we came around the corner. I'm like, oh, hey, look, he's got a helicopter like ours in the yard. I'm just kidding, but
Yeah, right.
hey, look at that. He's got oh shit. We didn't, I mean, things were happening so fast that we didn't hear it over comms. And I looked at my guy, my swim buddy that I was with, and he didn't hear it. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, a little bit of panic, but we figured if people were dead that would have came over. It was just things were happening so fast that it's like, all right.
Did y'all have intel that the primary breach point was not going to be able to be breached?
No, they
figured that out.
even the guys that were going to go breach the gate, they opened it up before. I mean, just things were happening so quick.
Yeah.
We were on our first lap, I think, when we saw it. It was just, we only had a certain amount of time to get in and out of there. And guys don't fuck around.
Sure.
If everything was going down quick, you got to get in and out, or they're coming for us. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is.
So when you rounded the corner and you saw the helo down, other than just saying, holy shit.
it was like a heart skips a beat for a minute, and like hopefully the call doesn't come over the radio that anybody's injured, but
Right.
we figured everybody was okay. I mean, I still remember being very nervous, but
Of course.
obviously there was no explosion. We didn't even hear the helicopter go down. So those pilots are so badass. The guy, they lost lift and he saved it and landed that thing. It just happened to hit the tail on the wall, and that guy's so awesome. He's like, dude, I'll fly that thing out of here. I'm like, yeah, we believe you. 100% we believe you, but we'll just not take the chance.
We're going to do this.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
We don't doubt you, but we're going to do this.
Yep.
So when you're all around, you see that. Can you describe that further? What you did?
Yeah, my job that night was to do external security with a swim buddy in Cairo. Like I said, we were just expecting there to be some sort of explosives where it's a suicide vest. I figured the whole house would be rigged to blow. I figured there'd be some sort of escape tunnel. There'd be some sort of hidden room, but at the end of the day, he just died like a coward, pushing the women out in front. And our job that night was to do sweeps of the external sweeps, looking for like I said, a tunnel system or any sort of explosive odor. I'm just looking for a change of behavior in Cairo. So once I did a couple laps with my swim buddy, we were both like, all right, we don't see anything. I made my way to the inside and I was just looking for explosives unless I got the call up to, I figured I would get a call to send Cairo in. They'd probably breach. I figured they'd find a hidden room somewhere where he was hiding, and we'll probably blow a hole in the wall and send Cairo in to get him or something like that. But until then, I figured there would be some sort of explosives. So all I was doing was it's hard once your dog gets on a bite to get him back into explosive odor. So my job was to just keep him away from, there was bad people obviously there. Some people got shot. Even some women were fighting. And my job was just to keep him away from the bodies and have him focus on explosives.
So he didn't bite at that point going through?
No, I was trying to keep him away from the bodies. He actually did end up getting the kid in the stairwell, but it's fine. You just got to keep him off of that. It is what it is. I can only pick him up so much and keep him off of it. And he ended up he engaged him on the stairwell. So it's my job to get him back onto explosive odor, but it's hard. It just takes a second.
That's what he's trained in. He's trained in both, but he's still aggressive and he's in attack mode. How hard is it to reset after get off bite?
It's hard.
It is hard.
It depends. Every dog's different, but it's definitely, they want to fight, and especially the more seasoned the dog is, the harder it can be. They're just there to fight. Like, what do you want me to get in a fist fight with a guy, or you're going to give me a tennis ball for? Yeah, right. Like
they want to do the fun stuff.
They want to do the fun stuff. Yeah.
Going through the house, can you describe what you saw?
Yeah, we made our way into the primary entry. Just remembered there's a bunch of glass everywhere from breaching. They had gates up to where they were blocking off the stairwell. So I just remember having to pick Cairo up to not only get him around some bodies, but also just keep him out of the glass so his feet doesn't get cut up. And I would just made my way to the first room, let him search in the first room looking for a change. Then we just pick him up over the glass and the bodies, go to the second room, just watch him. We made our way up to the second floor. Just trying to stay tactical and using my dog to the best of his advantages I could. And once we got to the second floor, I remember running into Rob, And we're busy. Like I said, we were moving quick, and I'm sitting there watching Cairo. I let him off leash because he worked better off leash. And that's how he ended up getting bin Laden's son on the stairwell, because he was off leash, and you gotta watch him. They're quick. But he works better on explosive odor off leash. And I remember letting him just do his thing around the room, and Rob was in there too. I remember Rob looking at me and goes, "I think I just shot that motherfucker in the face." And I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." It's like, great. I'm like, that gets me happy a little bit, but I'm working. I'm watching Cairo. I'm looking for any little change. I'm looking for explosives. So I'm like, cool, man. And not too long after he said that, the call came over the radio, where he's Geronimo, which means we had accomplished the mission. And then that was when it was real. That was another moment in my life I'll never forget. Like, not that I didn't believe Rob, but right. I don't have time to sit here and talk with you. Cool, thanks. I appreciate the update, but we're working, and he was working too. He just happened to say something while we're both doing our thing. But once it came over the radio, it was official. It was 100%. And so that's when I was like, okay. And it's the first time I've ever done this, but we actually gave Rob a high five on target. It ended up being just perfect timing, to where he's like, "I think I just shot that motherfucker in the face." I'm like, all right, cool, man. Watching him. And he comes over the radio like Geronimo, and I'm like, I look at him. I'm like, yeah. So that was the only time I've ever done that.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, me neither.
That scene. Well,
it's a moment I'll never forget.
Well, you're in the middle of it, and you're also still, it's an active scene. Y'all need, at that point, to wrap it up and get the hell out of there. And
we still had a
stay
job
alive.
to do. It was one quick, like, look at him like, holy shit, you weren't lying. High five, and like right back into work in Cairo. And he was right back to doing his thing, looking for whatever he's looking for.
And at that point, collecting any evidence that you can grab and get out of there safely. Were you a part of that?
Yeah, I was mostly just still looking for explosives.
Okay.
I really thought there would be something.
And there was none?
There were some things.
Okay.
But
okay.
Nothing that put us in danger. Nothing that Cairo triggered on to where we needed to get out of there.
I think the finite point that most people, unless you've performed any operations, and not to compare, ours to yours, but all of us formal SWAT individuals know that even once you've wrapped up whatever it may have been, a hazardous warrant, a hostage rescue, or a BP, there's still a job to be done regardless. There's the height of it, and then there's the cleanup of it. For you guys gathering intel, but you're still actively searching for any type of explosive that could be rigged somewhere, safe travel, safe passageway for everybody to get out. And then on top of that, the stressors of y'all having the entire village or compound start compiling on top of you, along with alerting neighboring areas that, hey, this is going on, and so on and so forth. And I think that's probably, a piece that most people, unless they're ever involved in it, just don't realize that, those jobs are never done until for us, we would get back to the station, do a debrief, job's done.
Yeah, no, I've never done that before. It just happened to work out to where I would never thought I would do that. But he just happened to be right beside me right when the call came over, right after he said that. It just happened to be, I wasn't going to stop my job to go give you a high five, bro. It's not what we're here for. It just happened to be perfect timing. And it even feels weird saying it these days, because we just don't do that. I've shot people with Rob before. Like, literally, we've killed people together, and we don't ever do that.
Dab it up.
You don't dab it up. You just do it, and then it's your job, and you're not there to celebrate. But that was once the call came over the radio, and like I said, I figured we would die. Like, even if we get shot down on the way home, that call came over the radio, and I knew the head shed, they don't fuck around. Like, they're not going to say that unless it's done, and it was done. I can die now. We're good.
Right.
Solid.
Wow.
But it's the mindset you have to maintain, I guess, is what I'm talking about. Regardless of that, you guys are still actively doing a job. It's a celebration. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
But it's like, hey, then your minds go snap right back into work. It's like a moment, just a fraction in time, but you're still actively working as you do that. And I don't think most people understand that, hey, these things aren't over until you guys are probably boots on the ground back at your place, right?
I thought I was
never safe.
Dead until when I remember, so there's certain moments I remember the call I'll never forget that. I remember when they told us who we were going after. I remember when the call came over. I remember we were going to die until we landed, and I walked into the hangar, and I looked around, and everybody was good. And I was like, holy fuck.
Then
it
all hit you.
I was like, all right, we actually pulled that off. And some guys actually got fragged. There was a firefight with the turret on the extra building that the guys never talk about.
And going, I want to go back just a little bit, and we might even have to delete or edit this out, and I get it, Will. So by all means, just tell me to be quiet. What kind of, was there an actual gunfight with bin Laden? What was that actual confrontation when they made contact with Osama bin Laden?
See, I can't say for sure. All I know is they shot him in the face, and he died like a coward, pushing the women out in front.
See, that's
from what they say.
That's what, the rumors out there that he was hiding behind women and children and all that. I
So,
didn't know if there was any truth to that.
One of the guys that hasn't come out was one of the most heroic things is when the women came running out. I've had a pretty in-depth conversation with him. He's like, 100%. We had been talking about suicide. We've been so many suicide vests that I was reminding him of suicide vests that he had forgotten about. And he just knew, he'd been around them so much that he's like, as soon as I grabbed those chicks, and he threw himself into the corner, he's like, I was just waiting for it. And we've been in the HBIDs before where you're just waiting for that. You're just tensing your body and you're just waiting for that explosion. And he says, I knew exactly where he was coming from. He's just like, no hesitation. Bin Laden pushed the women out first, and there's all kinds of different stories out there, and I can't say for sure what happened, but the guy who grabbed those women did his job very well, and he deserves a lot of credit, and he was going to sacrifice. There's some very heroic stuff that happened, not only with Rob, but with everybody that was in the compound at the time.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
The team. Yeah.
Even the pilots, even the intel people, everybody that helped put it all together is some just amazing stuff. I mean, pulled it off.
Did you want to talk about any of the resistance? I mean, we breached, made entry. Cairo did some work, got his licks in on the stairwell. Were there any other peripheral gunfights that you would care to talk about?
And so there's some heroic stuff. It's not my really place to say. I wasn't part of the gunfights that night. I just kind of can tell a little bit about what I know, and mine and Cairo's job was pretty insignificant that night. Cairo had more rule than I was just there to babysit. And
just for the listeners, we're sitting here face to face with this guy, and it's kind of, you almost get chill bumps because you're I'm 5 feet away from him. If you guys ever get a chance, you need to shake hands with this dude. It's kind of humbling hearing it and being in his presence, and there's all kind of details that are hard to get into, and so if y'all ever get a chance, you need to meet this guy for sure. Just felt the need to say that because of the story being told.
I appreciate it. I'm nobody special, man. I came from a trailer park in Southeast Texas, and I don't like talking about myself.
Well,
I'm lucky I get to talk about Cairo, and I get to talk about all the other guys that don't talk. And I used to be the person that don't talk, that didn't say anything, and I want to tell Cairo's story, and I'll talk about the guys that did actually do something, and because they won't say anything, and the dogs can't say anything, so I'm nobody special. I just happen to be lucky. I worked my ass off, and I got to be around a bunch of great dudes and got to do some cool things.
We never touched on this, so Cairo made a full recovery, obviously. What was that like?
I was worried. Yeah, he got shot before the bin Laden mission, and I handed him off to some good teammates of mine that dropped him off at Lackland, and shout out to them for rehabbing him. I wasn't sure what I was going to get when we got back home, if he was going to be skittish around gunfire or have a limp where he couldn't work anymore, but they got him back up and running 100%. Like, the only time I saw any issues were after we got him retired. He was shot through his leg, so I could see a little hitch in his step when he would start limping a little bit after throwing the ball for a while. And he was just getting older too. And then finally started to see some signs of PTSD when thunderstorms, he would freak out. He actually pissed in his bed once. It was weird. Like, just never seen him act like that before. During some thunderstorms, he would try to hide under us and hide under the pillows. And then he actually, one time, and I don't know if it was the cancer, just the end of his life or whatever happened, he never seen him act like that. I mean, it was Cairo. He's been in gunfights. He's been shot. He's been in pretty cool shit. And I guess dogs can get PTSD too. He was a little weird, but I was glad I was able to take care of him.
You're a very humble individual, and obviously that's a admirable quality. But you weren't just like picked out of the air to go on this mission. You don't give yourself that credit, or you're not doing it right now, but the credit is definitely on you and that dog. And that's, I think, the great thing about your book is that's your your main goal. You know, when I met you back in November, that was one of the things you said. That was the whole point and premise of this, was to tell his story. It had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do about that dog. And but you weren't just picked from the whim on this mission. You know, that dog was an extraordinary dog, but as we've already stated, you know, it takes an extraordinary individual to handle that animal and create that animal to become what it is. They're born, they're genetic, and he was no ordinary dog, but you're really no ordinary operator either, or a dog handler on that note.
I don't say that to downplay myself. I'm just trying to keep it as real as possible. I let my ego get out of control in the past, and I'm just trying to keep it as real as I can. Like, I worked my ass off. I pushed my body to its limits, and I did everything that I possibly could to keep that job, but I'm not shit compared to some of those guys.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to be as real as possible, and they'll never say anything. Yeah. I'm here to say it for them.
Yeah. And you are too, though. That's what I'm saying. You know, the things you did with this animal and the places you've been and what you've done. Yeah, it's, again, you very humble individual, and I know you're not downplaying yourself, but it's just, man, it's incredible. And, you know, you do deserve a pat on the back. You know, whether you want it or not, you're going to get it. You know, it's not easy to have one of those dogs, you know, and just like you mentioned, you know, it's no longer you're going to work. I mean, that's a damn lifestyle. That dog is attached to you, just like you said in your book, you know, at the hip, you know, at times literally, you know, as you guys exfil from aircraft and all that, or go into these operations. So, man, my hat's off to you on that.
Yeah, you came to the wrong room if you didn't want to get pats on the back from us, because we were very honored to be here.
I appreciate it. I'm just trying to be as honest as I can.
I'm getting all kinds of texts from people asking, hey, how's it going? I said, we're still in the middle of this shit. So y'all decided to blow the Black Hawk and get out of there, and then y'all went to a base. And I'm getting this from your book, No Ordinary Dog. Can you describe the scene when Dr. McRaven was examining the body and where you were and what you were doing?
Yeah, I don't think I was over there for that. I just heard about it afterwards, about how he had the guy lay down beside him, one of the taller guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I remember going over there, looking at him and seeing his face, his canoed head split open just to get a look at the body. And it was, it's another thing I'll never forget. But.
And then later on, President Obama came out and gave a press conference about that. And can you describe what you were doing at that moment?
Yeah, I was surrounded by a bunch of awesome dudes after we just killed that turd, and his body's over there while the president's addressing the nation. It was like, oh wow, this is really happening.
That doesn't get more surreal.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good feeling. Yeah,
I can tell you too, just from a personal note, I still remember. I know you guys do too. From back home on this side of the world. Man, it was like a party.
Dude, it was cool to see the country come together like that.
And it was, and that's exactly what I was going to hit on. I was like, man, you could not separate anybody in this nation at that point in time. There were people celebrating that hate this country. They were celebrating just the fact of the accomplishment that you guys had achieved, and it was like, man, it was great just seeing that, and it was like that, you know, for quite some time.
I wish it would have lasted longer, but it was really cool to see that.
It was awesome.
Yep.
I remember what I was doing. I was just finishing up an episode of 24, and then they broke in with that news. No, it was. I remember exactly. I was sitting there watching it, and I couldn't believe it because it had been so long.
He was watching Sesame Street. We all know.
Well, yeah. Well, I was watching that on my phone and watching 24.
You can multitask.
Yeah.
So I got a nerd question, and I'm assuming in the teams you guys run different calibers, different weapon systems and platforms and everything you can imagine, but now, and again, this might be a little, you know, classified, but was he shot with 5.56?
It would be 5.56.
You know what grain, what manufacturer, all that good stuff?
Whatever
like
guys preferred at the time.
Grain.
Nah, some guys rolling 7.62 as well, but not everybody. Most guys roll 5.56.
Okay.
I mean, there's plenty of other options to choose from as well.
Yeah, there's all kind of other little ballistic nerds out there that are just dying to know these.
And I'm not a ballistic nerd at all. I was given the equipment I was given for free, and I just perfected my points of performance and my weapon system that I got.
And what was that? If you can answer.
What's that?
What was your primary weapon and your secondary? What was your rifle and your pistol?
It all varied throughout my career. It was mostly 5.56, but I switched over to the MP7 for a while, and sometimes I carried a pistol, and sometimes when I didn't carry a pistol when I was handling Cairo, I'd carry a tomahawk. But that is not saying that's the right decision.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So now on pistol caliber, 9mm Glock, SIG.
Yeah, I mean you can go down to 22 if you want, but whatever floats your boat. Whatever's, I mean, what's the situation? Are you going on a ship takedown? You want to keep it quiet? Are you?
Same thing with a rifle. You would choose your barrel length.
Yes.
Regarding what mission.
Everything.
So what
just varies.
on this Neptune Spear? What was your kit?
I had my H&K 416, so it was 5.56, and I don't know if I had a pistol or not. Definitely, looking back now, I would have carried the pistol. Always keeping the higher caliber in the pistol for sure.
Just had to know. Sorry.
No, I love it.
I always counted on my teammates, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to put you in a bad situation.
Sure. Yeah.
After this is all over, I know that people got awards. Can you describe when the president and the vice president wanted to meet Cairo?
Yeah, it was cool. It was an honor to get to meet him, and I mean, it was such a surreal experience just to begin with, and then it was just awesome having to meet him. And then I muzzled Cairo up for sure because I would hate for him to bite the president. Cairo was such a good dog, but that one time I don't muzzle him. I totally didn't have to. Like, he would have been completely fine, but it's just that one slight chance that he nips the president. Or, oh my God, I just can't. I should have, looking back now, because I was already done with my career. Like I said, I wish I would have just died after the bin Laden mission. Not these days, but just everything that happened afterwards. I'm like, I should have just said, fuck it, who cares if I get fired? Like, I mean, I don't want the president to get bit, but Cairo was Cairo. He's such a good dog that he would have been just fine. But yeah, we put the muzzle on him just in case, because he probably wouldn't have been too happy.
No. Dealing with the weight of all this and all of your experiences, how did you cope?
The dog's definitely getting Cairo retired, and that was a big help. I had my girlfriend Natalie at the time, as my fiance now, is definitely huge. Just the people, my leadership was very understanding, and as much as they could be, I guess. Not all leadership. Certain leadership sucks, but I definitely had leaders directly above me that were just outstanding. Did everything that they possibly could to help me. Like I said, the dog, getting Cairo. I had another dog, Hagen, at the time. She was very important to me, and yeah, just having that, getting to take care of Cairo towards the end of his life gave me purpose. And then once he passed, my dogs just, I don't know, if you're a dog person, you can understand, just dogs can get you through some pretty tough times. I like dogs better than people sometimes.
You kind of touched on some of it. I didn't mean to bring it up earlier with loss of your buddies, friends, and teammates, but I know you suffered a I don't know the right terminology for it. A grenade blew up, and then you suffered from a TBI, correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Which, between that and the losing of friends and compound stress, it set you on a path that is not uncommon for man, whether it be, or woman, whether it be a first responder or military vet. It's something that's very commonly seen, especially the TBIs in y'all's field, and especially with all the breaching and the constant concussions and blasts and so on and so forth. You guys are around so much that you touched on some of it as far as where your resiliency came from. You touched on your fiance. I know the dog was a very big part of it. I know you mentioned that in your book when you were talking about, your worst days, you could go out there and play with Cairo, and that seemed to kind of settle the headaches and the other issues. And I know you suffered from a lot of pain, but you also didn't really touch into a lot of it, but a lot of it being your resiliency and the healing process. Can you touch on some of that as far as how you coped with everything beyond whether it be the alcohol or whatever it may be, but now where you're at today? Because I'm sure today you're a very different individual than you were then, and you've even mentioned it today. You don't wish you would have died after that. You're obviously enjoy your life and have found purpose and know that, and so on and so forth. I'm rambling on that, but can you touch on those pieces?
It's a long question. I'll try not to ramble as well, but let's just go over the whole gist of it.
Did I
You
just
did
do
it.
it
You
again,
just
Matt?
did
I'm
it,
sorry.
Josh.
It's your job to ramble.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, after the bin Laden mission, as things kind of went downhill, I had we had extortion happen. That was a big, so when people say PTSD, like that's the loss of my friends definitely affected. My hair fell out. And like all I wanted to do was work. That's it. That's all I ever wanted to do. And just things weren't, my brain, I mean, I took everything in me to get to where I was, and I had to fight really hard to keep it. But eventually with the loss of friends and the alcohol and the brain injury, the wheels fell off, and I just couldn't do the job anymore. And it all just went from that pinnacle in my career. And I'm not saying I wasn't drinking before then, because we were always partying, having fun, and hanging out with the friends and building that camaraderie. But eventually, I mean, I've lost people before the helicopter crash, before extortion. I lost Clark Schwedler and other guys as well. There's other helicopter crashes that's happened. And at a certain point, I guess it turned from every time I drank, there was no more partying and having fun with my friends. It was all just to cope with the loss. I was drinking myself to sleep every night, just looking at friends on my computer. So that's a pretty big difference than going out having fun and building that camaraderie. So going from the bin Laden mission to extortion, and then losing my best friend Nick, and then the brain injury on top of that, and then all the booze I was putting on top of that. And I got blown up in 2012 by hand grenade, so I had some alcohol incidents. My head shed sent me to a couple of rehab programs. I was trying to get back at it. I just wasn't dealing with the loss very well. I finally made my way back to my team and ended up getting blown up on my first mission back by a hand grenade. And that was pretty much the end of my career. That was my last mission.
Can you describe your injuries on that explosion?
It was mostly like a Forrest Gump wound. I took the brunt of it in my ass. So I got 2 Forrest Gump wounds in each cheek, and then it went through my hand. Yeah. Luckily, I got a big ass, so I absorbed it pretty well.
You really don't have a big ass.
Did you get ice cream?
Yes, of course. Lieutenant Diane,
looked.
ice
You really don't
cream.
have a big
Something
ass.
bit me.
That's it. But it hit me in my eye right here, in between my eyes, and just kind of stopped on the side of my skull. So if I was leaning forward an inch or whatever, it would have hit me in the temple, and it might have been the end of it. At least it would have lost my eyesight, I'm assuming. So I was very lucky. The other 2 guys that got injured with me, there was more guys that actually got injured. They just don't say much, but there was 2 guys that for sure got hit. One guy was charred up pretty bad, and he's got his issues. I hope he's doing well. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I think he was closest to the grenade because he got charred. Mine was just big fragments in my ass, and then another guy got hit a little bit in his chest. And all in all, considering everybody survived, so things could have turned out much worse. And I'm glad I didn't have Cairo with me that night, because I don't think he would have made it.
Now, was that a hand-thrown grenade?
Yeah, we were at a compound. They figured out we were there. I was supposed to wait. Me and my friend were going to go and take the high ground of this other building, and I was waiting for him to help carry the ladder. And as I'm sucked up, we were in a little tight spot along the side of the house. I'm sucked up against the wall, wait for him to help him. Guys were going past me that were assaulting the main building we were at, where everybody was, the main group of bad guys. One of my friends stops, and he starts shooting up directly the second story window. So I'm like, all right, shit, obviously, yeah, he's shooting at somebody. And as soon as he stopped, I didn't want to bump him to throw off a shot, so he stopped shooting. I jumped out of the little small space we're in, over this ditch, through this tree line, into the open field where I can get a better advantage on the second story window. It's my first stop back. I'm like, yeah, I don't have the dog. I don't have to babysit the dog. I get to shoot some bad people. I was pretty happy, and it was a pretty good, we knew there was bad guys up there. I mean, my buddy's shooting at somebody, so I'm like, come on, stick your head up. And then all of a sudden things just get a little fuzzy. I remember just being like, all right, I'm going to shoot this guy, and just stick your head up. And then I thought I'd fired a couple rounds off, but looking at the footage later, I didn't. And I don't know, things just get a little fuzzy. Somebody threw a grenade out the second story window, and it blew up behind me, and it didn't knock me out, but it knocked me forward. I remember kind of being on my hands and knees, and I thought I had shot afterwards, but thinking that I was just not in the right mental space to where my teammates were still over there, either on the roof or along the side of the building, and I'm just not mentally there to where I should be shooting back towards my guys. And I remember that kind of going through my mind. Everything's just a little fuzzy and vague, and I kind of wandered off to the right, but in a very bad situation still. I just kind of came to and realized, okay, hey, this is not good. I'm still going to get shot sitting in this. So it finally I got rocked, stood up, wandered over here for a second, and then things seemed to kind of kick back into place where I'm like, all right, I need to get back over to the side of the building. I remember walking over there, and I didn't want to say anything. I was obviously hit. I just didn't want to say anything because I was kind of disappointed in myself. But one of my other teammates is like, I'm hit. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm hit too, as long as you say it first. And then next thing you know, I'm face down, ass up with my pants down along the side of a building with a bunch of terrorists in it, getting my ass checked out, my Forrest Gump wounds. And I remember that my face was bleeding, and yeah, it's weird. So that
Like a
happened.
good party.
That's a great party. That's my
Song.
I don't always high five people on target, and I don't always pull down my pants with my ass out. So you know,
First. No,
that's a first.
Only Will Chesney.
All right. So that doesn't happen every night. And I remember my face was bleeding, and I know it felt like somebody hit me in the back with a baseball bat. Like I had a through and through in my hand. Didn't even know about that till later.
And you've got rifle rated plate carrier on.
Oh yeah. And my back.
And a helmet. And a helmet.
Oh, a helmet. Yeah. And my back was like somebody hit me in the lower back with a baseball bat. Like that's where I knew I was hit. And my face was bleeding. So I'm like, well, I knew it blew up behind me because my back hurts. And why is the front of my face bleeding? So in my mind, I was rocked pretty good. It didn't knock me out, but I was feeling it. So I figured the shrapnel had went through my head and out my face, and I was bleeding. So I kept having the medic like, hey man, are you sure my face is good? Like check the back of my head, and there's no entrance wounds in the. Anyways, he was like, dude, you're fine. Your ass took most of it, and your big ass is just fine. And he's trying to keep me calm, and it was fine. We got back. They called the exfil for us, the Casevac, and we got back to base. Everybody was good. We all got surgery, and that was it. And well, that wasn't it because that was pretty much the end of my career. I mean,
that was the beginning.
That was the end of it, man. My hair had already fallen out twice from stress. My fingernails had fallen out, and it was after the helicopter crash and after losing Nick. It's not hard to figure out why my hair was falling out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the grenade injury, that was the migraines really started kicking in. And I think that was a lot to do with stress, but I don't think that helped, obviously. The migraines were getting really bad. I think there were stress-induced migraines, and the TBI was there. Lots of grenades, lots of rockets, lots of breaching, lots of gunfire, lots of skydiving. I think all those little cumulative head injuries add up over time, and then you put booze, lots and lots of booze, like drinking myself to sleep, drinking a gallon of vodka every night, like trying to crush the bottle every night. I mean, I wasn't, but I was trying.
In order to get some sleep.
Oh, yeah. Just looking at pictures of my dead friends killing a gallon just until I pass out every night. So eventually until my leadership saw it, and I was coming in trying to do house runs, and I smelled like booze and not showing up. Like I've never not shown up. So the one time I didn't show up or showed up late, that's it. Like you don't do that. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So after that, it was go to rehab for a few stints and try to get back at it. Then I got blown up. And then after that, the migraines, it was very hard for me to sit down with my leadership and have a real talk with them. But it's like, hey man, I can't do this.
And that was after 13 years of service on the teams.
Yeah, I was a liability then. I mean, just with the migraines alone,
that's just unbelievable.
It was hard. It was hard to be like, hey, I can suck up this rehab stuff and I can get my shit together, but I can't deal with this memory stuff and these headaches. I'm gonna get somebody killed.
Will, what did you use to heal? I mean, you're beyond your rehab now, and you have this suffering that, like I said before, you're not the only one, right? There's a lot of people that are very similar in nature, especially in our line of work and your line of work. What did you do to heal? What did you lean on? What did you find your strengths? What did you do?
So it was quite the process. After the grenade injury, the migraines came and the memory loss, and it just all started getting really bad. And I'm glad my hair fell out twice, because if I didn't have those physical, I kind of thought I was going crazy. It's my brain that's messed up. So I'm like, I used to be a Navy SEAL. Like I used to be somebody I can suck up some pain. Like, what is going on here? Like, am I just being a pussy? Like, I'm glad my hair fell out so I could just know I'm not going crazy. Like, those are physical signs like something is off. Because if not, it's like, really, am I just making this up? Do I just not want to be here? Am I just being lazy? But if it's my brain that wasn't working, and it was quite the process on getting out. And like I said, great leadership at the time. They sent me to the rehab program, trying that. They sent me to a place called NICO in Bethesda, Maryland, to see a whole panel of doctors. And I tried the antidepressants, I tried the migraine medicines, and I tried a whole bunch of different things there. Eventually it was just, I had to get out. I just needed to be away. I just needed to move on. I was still drinking myself to death. Once I finally got out of the military, they medically retired me after about 3 years of trying to fix me. They did everything they possibly could. Once I figured out it just wasn't happening, I just needed to, if I'm not working as an operator, I just needed to step away. It's just not good for my mental well-being seeing all my best friends go to war, and I'm just going to hang out here and my mind doesn't work. It's great. It's just not a good place for me to be in. So it's time to move on. But I just still wasn't in a good place. I was up to 250 pounds. I was drinking myself to death. I was fat. I was literally just drinking myself to death. It was only a matter of time. And one of my best friends, his name is Jared Shaw, he reached out to me to go to my first brain treatment place. It was through the Brain Treatment Foundation. Those people are awesome. And that was kind of like one of my first steps. And Bethesda was good, but the antidepressants and the migraine medicines were not working. What was working was the big shot of painkiller they were giving me to stop my migraines, but that was definitely not the healthiest option. And I'm very appreciative of them giving it to me and getting me through those times where I needed it. And even the alcohol, I mean, I was drinking a lot, but it was getting me through whatever it needed to get me through. But that wasn't the end all answer. Just shooting myself up with painkillers every time a migraine started. They were happening 3 or 4 times a week. That's no way to live your life. So the antidepressants weren't cutting it. The migraine stuff just wasn't cutting it. It was stress. My fight or flight was just kicked into full. I mean, I was just on edge nonstop. And that stress, my hair had fallen out twice. My fingernails had fallen out. It was just 100% all the time. Just can't turn it off. Can't relax. So I went to the Brain Treatment Foundation.
So you kind of reminded me of when I first met Will Chesney. Had no idea who he was. So the first time I see him, I was like a surfer from California. I mean, his hair was probably longer than yours, Misty.
I had to let it grow out when the 5 head was coming. My receding hairline was kicking in.
Super reserved, super quiet, and it's literally a campfire setting. We're around the campfire, and I'm kind of nudging people next to me. Who's this crazy quiet dude over here? Am I going to be safe to sleep tonight?
Very typical Matt Baines.
Don't sleep on your front.
And so there was a little group of operators, and the stories start kind of slowly slipping out about 2 or 3 in the morning around the campfire and the bourbon, and I'm like, and hearing him talk a little bit. He's not a big talker, We've done good at getting this stuff out of him, and then I start thinking, how do these people go from skydiving in early hours of the morning in the pitch darkness into these villages, carrying out these operations, going through this mental physical training, doing these type of operations, and then boom, you hit the wall, bam, grenade blows up, traumatic brain injury, alcoholism. Hey man, thanks for your service. Go sell insurance. And I don't think the public has any idea of what that kind of transition would be like. And we're talking, it's not like you're like me, like an old man getting close to 50 years old. We're talking about guys 32, 30, 35. A 35-year-old SEAL's probably an old head that's still operating, I would assume.
I mean, I was in my 30s, early 30s, and I thought I was going to die of a heart attack, and my hair's falling out, and I was drinking myself to a heart attack. It's fat as shit.
And when I met you, you were kind of in that transition.
Yep.
And that was probably my first real dose of what I just said. How do these guys make that transformation? And there's a lot of people that are aware of that now.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, I used to be able to
a lot of foundations and
drive the vehicle, shoot out the window, drop some bombs, talk to my friend, and it was easy. And then it's all fun and games. Like nothing, everything just rolled off my back because I got a handle on it. My mind works. I can handle this shit. This is easy. I can suck up the pain. It's when my mind stopped working, when I'm literally going from one of the biggest missions ever. I mean, I got to be on the Captain Phillips mission. I got to do all kinds. That's nothing. That's just 2 things out of hundreds and hundreds of other operations that we've done. I was like pretty solid on my mental capacity on opera. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I felt
resilient,
confident when it came to shoot, moving, and communicating. And keeping up with these dudes is hard, but I can probably do it. And then once I couldn't even run a trip, I'm looking. I remember when going through all my medical stuff, I'm looking at my friend, and he's getting his black belt, or he's getting his whatever purple brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He has a family. He's running 3 trips. You're going to college. You're going to be a team leader. I'm like, holy fuck! Like that used to be me. and I can't run one trip. Like,
Right.
I can't run one fucking trip without my migraine going, man, yeah. And you're doing 15 things, and that used to be me. And then I go from that to getting out of the military, and I'm living at my mom's house staring at the wall for an hour because I can't figure out what is going on. Like, literally, I would stare at the wall by myself for an hour or however long I was there. Just being like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm taking responsibility too, because the drinking, maybe I could have backed off the drinking, but I think all of it just accumulated over time, and just there's definitely ways to get past it. And like I said, the Brain Treatment Center, so there's transcranial magnetic stimulation that I went through, TMS, and that helped. There's changing my diet, there's eating better, there's meditating, there's float tanks, there's breath
And there's
exercises.
Warrior Health Foundation.
There's Warrior Health
They're
Foundation to
doing
get your
a lot of
testosterone done.
Specific investigating and researching into.
There's so many modalities. I mean, there's
Yes.
psychedelics. My friend Marcus and Amber, his wife, have Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions, I think is what it's called. And some guys are getting a lot out of psychedelics. And I never would have thought that. I've never done anything like that. And it's huge benefit. I mean, guys are literally turning their life around. And there's teen guys that are killing themselves, which doesn't make any sense to me. We don't quit. So
What's Cairo's role in all this now?
at what point in time?
At this point in your life?
He was coming to the end of his life, so I was basically taking care of him, and he was just having him there was good for me. But he had a pretty rough road he was going down with. He ended up getting cancer. Spoiler alert. It was rough. Like, I was having to blend his food and syringe feed him and give him subcutaneous fluids, and it was rough towards the end. We maybe held on a little bit too long, but I just wanted to, do everything we could for him.
Do you believe in divine intervention?
I do.
So part of your book and hearing you talk today, I thought about this, and there's this piece. You each complement each other, from my opinion or from my observation. And I say that because this dog was brought into your life. You didn't think you were going to get this dog. You ended up getting him. I know you mentioned something about Bronco, and he grew on you, right? And later on down the road, he shot, probably suffered something that most dogs die from.
Oh, yeah.
He is 100% healed, comes back to you, right? And then you guys are separated again. I know you went to, was it Jump Master School? Is that what it's called?
I went there, yeah.
Yeah, so you leave knowing that it's a working dog, and most people I don't think understand that these dogs are handed off to many different handlers at certain points in their life, right?
Yep.
So, but the whole time, this dog holds a piece of you, right? The logistics, me and Matt were talking about this the other day, and it's the logistics of these animals is they're considered weapons, they're considered equipment, right? According to probably military standards, this is a piece of equipment.
It's a weapon.
Yeah.
Yep, consider
And
him a weapon.
The humanization of it is that, no, that's a part of you, right? You're his dad. That's like your child, like you just said. And I guess where I'm going with this is that, there's different parts of y'all's lives where you're separated and brought back together and separated, and then you're brought back together for this biggest mission. And then, not to spoil the rest of your book, but you guys eventually, through a lot of frustration, you're able to get this animal. But in the interim, it sounded like this animal, your interaction with Cairo, continuous interaction with him, helped that I guess would be part of your resiliency and your healing, is that this animal was there for you, and then you're able to adopt this animal, and then he similar to you is now suffering from something, and you're able to provide him the service he provided you. And though it was a rough end, it's just amazing to see that this pattern, this path in your life that throughout your career and this dog's life. I mean, this dog came to you at age 3. It's incredible, and to look at it from a divine intervention piece, I guess, not to get spiritual, but you guys complement each other so much through your life. You were meant to be with that dog, and that dog was meant to be with you. And that dog was taken away from you several different times, and yet you guys fall right back into each other's laps, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have him, and you're with him for his last moments. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to fight for what you want. Nothing in life is easy. Life is hard, so you got to know what you want, and to get it, it's going to be hard. Nothing ever just going to come easy. And out of all the stuff that I've been through, I think my connection with God has been the most important thing to get back. Because after my friends died, I lost that connection for sure. Like, why the fuck would I be here and they're not? So getting that back was a big deal. The most important thing for sure.
What would you want Cairo's legacy to be?
Yeah, it's all in the book. I'm very happy with how it turned out. And not only just Cairo, but all the working dogs that we had, all the guys. It's just solid. Like, not everybody's going to write a book. Most guys, I'm quiet and it's weird to talk. Most guys aren't going to do this. So just to bring attention to what they've done. I mean, I had a great career and I'm very happy with what I did, but I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about Cairo. It's great to have his book out there. It's a big piece of history, but we were just one dog team out of the best operators in the world. And it was it's very humbling to look back on it, and there's so many guys that have done so much. It's just we were lucky to be chosen for that, but there's so much more that goes into it.
Well, I believe listening to the audiobook, it can be found on Audible and Amazon. I believe you did Cairo's story justice as well as your own, because they were intertwined. It is a powerful book. It's a tearjerker. It's an honor to be sitting with you after reading that book and hearing all that you went through. And I have a greater appreciation for the working dogs and a lot more understanding, and I think the listeners will as well. K9s have been used in policing for years, and we see that side of it. And Josh, he sees the side working out at left field. But the level that y'all use the working dog for is 10 levels up.
I don't think so. I think
Really?
It's all, I mean, everybody goes through their own stuff. It's just different circumstances, and y'all do the same thing. I mean, even the search and rescue dogs, that's some trauma that I don't want to see. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have to see stuff here at home, and then kids and stuff that you have to deal with. It's all different, but it's the same, I guess, if that makes sense. I mean, it's still you're working dogs to do an important job. Ours just looks a little different.
Where can you find your book?
So you can get it on Amazon, Audible. If you want a signed copy, I would get on Instagram and hit up the No Ordinary Dog book page, send a message there. I have my personal Instagram page, Will Cheese with 3 E's as well. I'm not very good at social media, so if you send me a message, I might not get back to you. I'm not big on social media, but the dog book page, we try to stay on top of that at least. And yeah, if you want to do that, just get it on Amazon, Audible. I narrated it myself. And I had my dog who I have now, Nala. She's about 3 now. She was in there the whole time I was in the booth. So it was good. It was quite the evolution to read that thing.
That's awesome.
Do you have any foundations or nonprofits that you currently are a part of that you want to mention?
Yeah, there's plenty of them out there. On the dog side, you have Mike Ritland with Warrior Dog Foundation. He helps give dogs that aren't exactly able to go home. They're more of a handful. He gives them a good home. He takes care of them. There's Jimmy Hatch, another teammate of mine, has Spike's K9 Fund. He helps you guys out, give ballistic vests and equipment to the dogs. And on the brain health side, there's the Brain Treatment Foundation. That was a big help for me. Warrior Health Foundation. They're a huge organization. That's great. There's the Navy SEAL Foundation. There's SEAL Future Fund. I know it's like not best to just name multiple, but there's a lot of great foundations out there helping a lot of people. So yeah, there's plenty of it out there to dive into and look into, and those are just some of them.
Will, we have a lot of young first responders out there listening, both police and fire, and we have people in other countries listening. Anybody that's out there struggling, because there's plenty doing this type of job, police, fire, military, any first responder, what would you tell them to seek out, how to seek out help, make themselves better, and improve, going from your experience?
Reach out to a friend if you think somebody's in a bad situation. Even my best friend, he was my roommate in Buds. He almost had death by cop in Florida, and I had no idea. I was like, I didn't know you were in such a bad place. Just reach out, see if you can't help. Life's hard. You're gonna have your ups and downs, and it won't last forever. So if you're going through a hard time, there's good people out there that'll help you, and it won't last forever. It just, sometimes life sucks, and you can get through it.
Well, with that, that's probably a good way to wrap this up. I just want to thank you for coming on here, and I know people say it to us and they say it to you, but thank you for your service, and thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough, and I wasn't sure what we were gonna, what direction this story was gonna go. I read your book, and it's incredible, and I encourage everyone else to go out and listen to it, buy it, and support this historic story in world history. And I can't thank you enough for your service and all that you sacrificed. Thank you for coming on here.
Thank you.
Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Down when you're lonely, I'll pull you up. Life leaves you heavy when the going gets tough. I'll be your shoulder, together we'll run. Up from the bottom, yeah, we'll rise above. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. I'll never give up on you. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far, for the gold and the blue, I'll never give up on you.